To say that 40k is a rich universe would be the understatement of the century. And with the current success of Space Marine 2, you can only expect this rich universe to become even more appreciated and richer. And today I have summoned a neophyte of the 40k verse and an old friend of this humble channel to analyze the many aerial vehicles presented within the fictional universe of 40k.
Hello guys, my name is Guilherme. You're probably gonna remind me of the last video. It's been a long time, so
Quite
yeah.
a while
Anyway,
actually, yeah, it's been quite a while.
was it the pilot guy, right? The pilot
Yeah,
guy with the armored core.
I'm gonna need a better name for you. I mean, pilot guy is just simply not gonna stick, but for now, yeah, you're pilot guy. This old friend of the channel is an air pilot with over hundreds of hours of flight experience and whom have also specialized in the management and piloting of aerial drones for both agricultural and military practices.
Yeah, I'm a pilot in real life. I'm currently not flying for any airlines, but I do have my licenses. I also work with drones. Yeah, that's kind of it.
What type of drones do you work, by the way?
Well, I did a lot of commercial use, like the DJI drones with regular cameras for cinematography. I did mapping and surveying. I worked with military drones, so bigger drones, a little bit of everything, I guess.
And today he will answer whether the multitudes of aerial vehicles in the lore of 40k could actually be practical and efficient in the niches of operations that they are deployed. Their design, niche, and operational use will be variables to which these vehicles will be reviewed. He will also compare them to real-life examples of aerial vehicles utilized by our own society and see which faction of 40k has the most reliable of planes. Keep in mind that we will not be going through all of the air vehicles within 40k, but instead the most famous and perhaps iconic ones that we could find for this video. We will also restrict ourselves within one vehicle per faction as to not drive ourselves insane in the process of analyzing potentially 35 plus years of lore. For I am not Luthen after all. Don't forget to leave a like and a subscribe if you enjoy these types of lore analysis content. This is the Discount Russian, and let us begin. Alright, so you have some introduction for us when it comes about to aerodynamics and how we should understand it. By the way, we're not going to go completely in depth over every single design over these vehicles because, well, we do not want to go
I don't want to
crazy
bore you
or
guys.
yeah.
But so the one thing you guys gotta understand when you're talking about airplanes, you're gonna have the four forces of flight, what we call them. So we're gonna be working with thrust, lift, weight, and drag. So pretty much, let's say if I want to go up, my lift needs to be greater than my weight, so the airplane is gonna go up. If I want to go faster, my thrust needs to overcome my drag, so I need to put in more motor, more throttle, and that's how it works. And once you're on a very level and stable flight, all the forces are gonna come together and they're gonna equal each other. That's the very, very basic way of saying how an airplane flies. So believe it or not, it's not magic. So it's kind of how it goes.
Starting off this video with a bang, we begin with the most prevalent faction within the 40k verse, the Imperium of Man. More specifically, their legendary poster boys, the Space Marines. Our first vehicle in this discussion is the Thunderhawk, a gunship utilized by the legendary warriors of the Emperor of Man, the Adeptus Astartes. This airship is their primary means of deploying forces for ground combat as well as their primary source for air support. Some variants of this vehicle can also be utilized for logistical purposes, such as transport of cargo and group vehicles into combat. This is one of the most recognizable vehicles in the Space Marines arsenal and has seen use ever since the Horus Heresy itself. But what does our own real-life pilot has to say about these tools of war?
Yep. Okay, so it's a true deploy cargo transport vehicle. You can see it's very bulky and heavy. So it's kind of fun to say because it has all of that. It has limited aerodynamics. Let's put it that way. One thing I thought was very interesting was its front cargo door because, if it's a military transport unit, it doesn't make sense for the cargo door to be in the front of the airplane because imagine if you're landing into combat, you want your troops to get out of the plane by the back so they don't get shot. It's a safety issue thing. So here's just like, no, we're just gonna land here. You guys go ahead and just do what you gotta do. It's very unusual. Even for cargo, I mean, there are some cargo aircrafts that have a front cargo door. I do appreciate that the cargo door itself, it opens downward, so you're not gonna block the vision in the cockpit for the pilots. So it's a good thing if they need to get out of the place that they are quickly. It makes sense. So they're always aware of their surroundings. And usually the doors on those airplanes, the cargo airplanes, they usually open upward so they can maximize space. That's not what we have here, but that's fine.
That's actually quite
And
interesting because the bulk of the Space Marines always been a. I mean, they're huge, so it's kind of, and they use power armor, these incredibly heavy armor, and to believe that it does not technically accommodate for more space within is kind of funny, because there are
Mhm.
examples where that massive size and bulk was used against them.
Another potential issue that we might have here is the wingspan itself. The Thunderhawk's purpose as a troop and cargo transport is likely to be quite heavy, so it's a very heavy aircraft. Usually, aircraft, the heavier they are, they need usually bigger wings, so a larger wingspan, because it's going to provide more surface area, so we're going to have more lift, and one thing balances each other. So the bigger you go, usually you get bigger wings. It seems like a smaller wing than it should be. I think that's the one thing looking at the aircraft itself. I don't know. I think it's kind of short.
The second vehicle we analyze is, curiously, the first one we see in use during the events of the Space Marine 2 game, the Corvus Blackstar. The Corvus Blackstar is also an Astartes air-to-ground vehicle, but this one sees exclusive service within the ranks of the Inquisition's Death Watch, an organization specialized in the prevention and subjugation of Xenos threats. The Death Watch is one of the most recognizable factions within the 40k verse, therefore its appearance in the game's intro was a given, especially when the main threat faced throughout the game is, in fact, the most alien of aliens. The Corvus Blackstar houses highly advanced weapon systems alongside its high maneuverability in order to quickly deploy Astartes kill teams in the thick of the most intense of Xenos-infested battlefields. It serves its niche of a high-speed but highly robust troop deployment vehicle. The idea behind it is to deploy their highly specialized troops as quickly and precisely as possible. But does this design actually accommodate such combat niche? Let us find out.
Okay, so yeah, the Black Star is quite interesting. We have a thing in aviation that we call there are like two angles when we're talking about wings. So we have a dihedral and another one called unhedral. So the dihedral, it's the wings, they're angled upward from the fuselage. So when you see like most regular airplanes, like civilian airplanes, like airliners, you're gonna see a little bit of that. They're little tilted upwards a little bit, and that helps with lateral stability, which helps the aircraft keep level during flight. And in here we have an unhedral, so the wings are angled downwards, and it is a true thing. It is some military aircraft they use that. And the thing is, when you have a wing like that, it's gonna reduce your lateral stability and make the aircraft more maneuverable and responsive than compared to a dihedral one. And the thing is, when you roll the unhedral, the angle does the opposite of the dihedral, making it easier for the aircraft to maintain or increase the roll, giving more control to the pilot for quick movements. So what I want to say is this is a very good use for military operations, for military aircraft. They need to be fast, they need to maneuver, like the pilot needs to be capable of like getting in and out of a situation faster and quicker. So that's why you're not going to see this kind of wing on a civilian aircraft. So I think that's very very cool that this one military aircraft have that. Like it's a nice attention to detail. There's a plane called McDonnell Douglas the Harrier. I'm pretty sure almost everybody's gonna know this plane, especially if you play GTA San Andreas. Yeah, so it's the Harrier. So it's a VTOL aircraft, so vertical takeoff and landing. If you look to the design of the Harrier, it looks pretty close to what we have here. It might be what they took into consideration when making this aircraft. Yeah, it looks like a fighter jet, the design, especially with the pronounced anhedral wing configuration. It's, like I said, is essential for military aircraft to enhance its maneuverability, allowing the pilot to roll the aircraft more easily and perform quick maneuvers, enabling rapid engagement and disengagement in any kind of situations that it needs to be. One thing that I thought was very interesting is how the Black Star can transport troops. Yeah, so it's heavy. So the weight is going to be there because you're adding a lot of troops. So for a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, it needs to have a lot of power to fly.
But do we relent? No, sir! You will give your life in the name of our
Although the Astartes are generally the ones to bask in the glories from the spoils of war, it is important to remind ourselves that the Imperium is held together by the humble common men and women of the Imperial Guard. With that said, we present to you the humble Valkyrie of the Imperial Guard. The Valkyrie is both a ground support gunship and a transport for both the most veteran and elite of Imperial Guard soldiers, such as Tempestus Scions. But it has also found its use for the standard rank and file soldiers of the Imperial Guard as well, being utilized by particularly versatile and intelligent guard commanders in order to deploy their rank and file across large swathes in the battlefield, making it a very tactically sound logistical tool. The tactical versatility of the Valkyrie has also allowed the vehicle to achieve some level of success in other niches of war, such as hit-and-run strikes and strafing runs on enemy ground forces who arrogantly believed that they could evade the aerial wrath of the Emperor of Man. But with the fluff out of the way, let us see what our true specialist has to say on the matter for this vehicle.
Yeah, so the Blackstar and the Valkyrie, for me, they're very, very similar. They bring this military aviation concept, those jets that they use as inspiration, like the Harrier. And they do a very good design, especially with the wings that I was telling you about. It's just funny how, because when you have a military jet like that, your main idea is to have a pilot, a co-pilot, and you go into action. But now you're adding troops, so it's kind of like it's transporting troops as well. So it doesn't really make sense for me, because it's not what they're supposed to do. And the Valkyrie, from what I've seen, is kind of the same thing. It has the same style of wings. The design is very similar to each other, so I could use the Harrier here again. And it also carries troops. So interesting, with it seems like it has like sliding doors and machine guns. Like it's weird, but okay, sure. Let's just leave that aside. But the design itself, I really like it. The cockpit is one of the things that I really enjoyed because it has one of those classics configurations where you have the pilot and co-pilot sitting in front of each other. Very cool. Although here in the Warhammer universe, it is an airplane. In real life, this cockpit design, it really resembles for me an attack helicopter. If you get, for example, the Mi-28, the MiG, like one of the MiGs 28, it's called the Hunter. It's so close. Like the design, you're gonna put that on the video, and if you look at the cockpit, it's just
You can see the inspiration
insane.
behind it, yeah.
It's insanely close how much it resembles it. This helicopter, it has weapons on its side, and it
Right.
kind of looks like the wings as well
Yeah, yeah,
from the. So I mean, it's like,
it's very
hey,
uncanny the
maybe
similarities, right?
yeah, maybe it could be, because damn, it's really cool. Here, of course, in Warhammer is an airplane, but for me, it really resembles the helicopter. So yeah, in an aviation, looking at it, the design, is it possible? Kind of, because you have like the Harrier, for example, like that I use multiple times. So yes, but again, the problem is the weight and like it's so bulky and heavy and troops and I don't know. It's weird, but it's kind of possible in a weird way.
I
Let's-
get it. Well, at least this
Yeah.
one is not carrying Astartes around, you know. They're not carrying people that are over 300 pounds or what, 150 kilos in weight, or even more,
Yeah.
200 kilos in weight, with
Right.
power armor added onto it. So, yeah, they're just carrying normal troops and somehow supplies. And it's funny
If
because
I had a
you said that it's basically, it looks like it's a troop transport, like you said. You know a little bit of the lore of it, and also used for fighting, which is ironic because in the lore, the design proved itself to be quite versatile. So the more intricate and resourceful commanders actually kind of use it as somewhat a more versatile vehicle. Again, it's not as bulky as the Astartes vehicle. So when you see it in the game, especially in the Space Marine game, when you see it, it doesn't look all that heavy. I mean, it doesn't give up that vibe. But then again, this is coming from someone that has no idea of aerodynamics, how it works, how things should actually, how can I say it, balance the weight. So yeah,
Mhm.
take that with a grain of salt when it comes to my perspective. And then again, we're looking at it the perspective from the game, which you are a fucking space marine, and space marines are huge,
Right.
so everything is gonna look small to them, So there is
True.
that.
True.
So
Yeah, if it was a smaller aircraft, just for pilot, co-pilot, and the main focus was purely combat, then
dogfighting, you
yeah,
mean?
yeah, just dogfighting, then yeah, I totally could see this happening. Again, the Harrier is the best example because it looks so much like it, and so yeah, it's kind of doable.
And now, to finally bring an end to the Imperial dedicated portion of this video, we tackle an Adeptus Mechanicus vehicle, the Archaeopter. One of the most perplexing looking vehicles in this video in my opinion, but then again, it was built by these guys, so what exactly was I expecting? I have no idea. The Archaeopter is a multi-use aircraft which has been at the forefront of the Mechanicus expansion for millennia. This agile aircraft has been utilized for a variety of uses such as bomb runs, troop transport, and ground assault runs. But what does our specialist have to say about these flying oddities?
Okay, so this one is probably one of my favorite designs so far.
You gotta be
That we
kidding me,
have here
really?
for this
This
video.
is gonna be the most...
Not as a aviation view, but as a personal view. Like
Oh,
I like
for a
the design.
second I thought you were
Like,
going to say that design-wise is the one that makes the most sense because Jesus, it's so...
no. We're very far from that. But
Okay.
as a personal favorite, it's not my favorite, but it's up there. I really enjoy the design here. You want to know why I really like it? Because it looks like a dragon. It resembles a dragon, and you know how I like dragons. So
Are you not
yeah,
saying that
the
just
red
because you're looking
color.
at the red color paint and the wings that look like bats as well? Okay, I get that logic. Never mind. Don't mind me.
know, and it's gonna get funnier. You'll see. So, but yeah, it's a cool concept, but unfortunately, this aircraft it would never work in reality. Would never work. So the main issue that we're gonna have here is the material used for its wings, because here we can see the wings. They're made of a synthetic fabric, which in real life is called dacron. Dacron. I don't know the name, like dacron. Dacron. So it's a type of polyester. Okay, so it's very lightweight and flexible and very durable as well. But the main thing is it's only suitable for small ultralight aircraft. So that's not our case here. Here we have a very heavy and big
I mean,
aircraft.
it's
It's
obviously
not
the
gonna be.
rule of cool type of design on the vehicle because you can obviously see that it's someone. I can see that the guy that designed the miniature for this and then the subsequent art design that came afterwards with people sewing. I mean, viewing the design of the miniature, were like, yeah, this looks cool. Let's make a vehicle that looks like a bat and has machine guns in front of it, and I don't know what else they thought of it.
So just finish here a little bit. Yeah, so this in real life, this polyester kind of material, it's here we have such a big, and heavy aircraft. This material is not going to have the structural strength to support the forces and stresses that a heavy aircraft would experience, especially higher speeds or when carrying a large load. So like troops or
Which is
anything
something that
like
this
that matter.
vehicle actually do. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of thought when it comes to
Exactly.
its
So
design.
yeah, so for larger, heavier, and faster aircraft, much stronger materials are needed. So that's why we don't see any aircrafts with that material besides the ultralight ones. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about this one because the wings and the material. Like I said, I really enjoy the design. Unfortunately, not gonna happen. Maybe in the universe it's a different kind of
Yeah, super
polyester, but
strong,
yeah,
super
it's
resistant.
extremely
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I guess, but yeah, in real life, no, that's a big
Okay,
no.
you know what? I know the irony of this vehicle is that it's made by the most technologically advanced faction within the Imperium of Man, which is the Adeptus Mechanicus, and the things that they build are, well, these are the guys that build technologies that for us in the 21st century would look miraculous. So it's crazy
Yeah.
ironic to see that the most technologically gifted faction in the Imperium of Man of 40k actually built what is, of this list, of this video, the most inaccurate plane or flying vehicle that can show up in this video. It's kind of ironic.
Yeah, unfortunately, because like I said, if you look in real life, the ultralight aircraft, they pretty much is just a wing, with that material, a little tiny motor in it, and you're gonna carry a max two people, hardly. Like usually it's one, maybe a two-seater, sometimes. But yeah, it's a very interesting design of a plane. Again, you're gonna see pictures when we're talking. But yeah, in real life, this would never happen.
Now that we have basked in the glorious light of the Imperium, let us now explore the dark filth that is the Xenos and their ingenuity, alongside their abominable machinations. After all, if you wish to defeat your enemies, you better be sure to understand them. Granted, attempting to understand the orcs out of all Xenos might very well be an effort in futility. With that said, there's still a few pearls of knowledge that can be gathered by their intelligence, quote unquote. By the way, I say intelligence with hard quotations, since suggesting intelligence as a trait for such filthy Xenos barbarians would be nothing short of heresy. With all that said, some of these outlandish orc designs might not be wholly outlandish at all, at least when compared to real-life examples of aircraft. Yet it must be remembered that the aptly named Dakkajet is still a loud, roughly put together orcish mess of a plane, built for both air-to-air and ground attack operations. And by operations, I mean the classic orc logic of if it goes boom and kills the humans, it's a good weapon, rather than having any sort of tactical acumen put behind their roles as an aircraft. Because honestly, what's a better strategy to an orc than to charge their enemies head-on with a comically loud, explosive, and hilariously put together Dakka of a plane? With all that out of the way, what does our airborne specialist have to say on the matter for these Xenos invention?
So yeah, let's put it this way: when we talk about like RPGs and everything, I don't really like the orcs because I always play like elves and archers and everything. And when you told me they were gonna have like
Well,
orcs,
can I be honest with you? I don't feel like you're gonna like the elves in the 40k either, but well.
probably. So there, the rivalry is there, like orcs and elves and everything. And when you told me about the orcs, I'm like, "Ugh, let's see how that's gonna work." And hey, for my surprise, this is the most accurate design I've seen so far.
Inquisitor,
This is the
Inquisitor,
best.
this is
This
the
is the best
heretic here.
design.
This is the heretic. Take him away. This
This
is the
design
heretic.
is the best one, hands down so far.
You
Like,
Xenos filth,
there's
you traitor.
I could almost say it's a perfect design.
My friend is a
It's
traitor. I cannot believe I'm listening to. I feel betrayed.
I'm very surprised as well, and it's a shock for me.
It's a shock for me too.
So
When the first you mentioned, I was like, you gotta be kidding me, really? The orcs? I mean, have you seen the other things that
yeah,
they
the
have
orcs.
built? It's absolute madness.
Yeah. So again, I really like this design. It takes inspiration from the MiG-17, which is a Soviet jet fighter. It was developed back in the 1950s and was featured swept wing design. So just like we have here, for improved high-speed performance and maneuverability. So yeah, for high performance, and it was equipped with a single turbojet engine and three cannons and the ability to carry bombs or rockets, making one of the key players during Cold War. So this MiG-17 plane is a very famous and crazy and amazing
Yeah,
design for
I know
a
about it. It's surprising actually.
yeah, it's awesome, And what I love about the MiG-17, the design, it kind of feels like the engineers they looked at a jet engine, like a very big jet engine, and thought, why not take this massive engine, attach some wings, put some guns, strap a pilot in it, and hey, just call it a
It's a
jet
dude.
and
That's the
make it fly.
most orcish kind of logic you can think of. The orcs are insane. I really mean it. They are an insane faction within 40k.
Yeah, they can be insane, but they got the best plane,
Shut up. I know.
the best
The,
design.
the heresy.
So
The Inquisition's gonna take me away. They're gonna lock us both up. I can feel it.
yeah, we're both going down. We're
No,
both going
shut
down
up.
here. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to talk about it because it's just it looks like your typical fighter jet. The one thing that I could say is if you look at it, there's no canopy, so the pilot is exposed to the wind. And here,
I mean, it's
the
orcs,
mix.
man. Don't expect much logic
Yeah,
from them, okay?
right. So like the MiG, for example, is an extremely fast aircraft. Can you imagine like rolling down your window at crazy high speeds and just be like, yeah, hey, here I
I
am.
mean,
So,
it's more exciting, man. Come on, it's
but besides that, hey, I really like it. I think it's an amazing design and it's one of my
I
favorites,
mean,
if not my favorite.
I mean, jokes aside, it's when you mentioned the MiG, I was like, oh yeah, it really does look like a MiG. I mean, it's gonna be quite obvious by now, but a lot of the designs from Warhammer and its miniatures and its vehicles, most of it's from the lore, especially the tanks as well. They are really inspired by World War II vehicles or Cold War vehicles that they kind of
Yeah,
splatter here around some technological babble to look a little bit more sci-fi ish. But you can obviously see the similarities between both of them. It's really interesting to see that they actually went the extra mile of somewhat studying the vehicle. But I wonder if it's not a coincidence on the part of the Dakkajet and the MiG, because I mean the similarities are so obvious that it's very difficult to not be like, oh yeah, they definitely picked inspiration from the MiG. But at the same time, it's such an orcish type
I don't
of
know.
logic, you
In
know.
aviation, like for us in aviation, the MiG is such an iconic aircraft that like once you look at it, anything that resembles it, you're like, oh, that's the
Oh
MiG.
yeah, yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
just kind of like oh, so I mean, it could have been, but that's a really
And I know, I
like
mean, I know it's a
weird
stretch of
coincidence
my
there.
part because you look at it and you're like, when you just start when you just activate a single neuron in your brain, you're like, oh, that's the MiG, you know. But orcish
Yeah,
with teeth at front of it. So, well, it's still kind of ironic to believe that to know that the MiG line of thought when it was built, when it was designed, was like, oh, just put a normal jet engine, put wings in it, strap a pilot, and it just works. Let's just make sure that it doesn't explode halfway
yeah.
through it. But the orcs are going to be very happy if it blows halfway through it. So, well, with that aside, it's actually kind of interesting to look at it. Continue on with our catalog of alien craft, we now analyze the primary fighter craft of the Eldari, the Nightwing. The Eldar and their technologies are well known for their nimble agility, and these air fighters exemplify what is perhaps the very best example of it. Combining high speed and high maneuverability, this aircraft is designed by the Eldar as their foremost dogfighter, intended to achieve air superiority even when heavily outnumbered, resulting in many victories for the Eldar race. The aircraft is also known for utilizing technologies such as anti-grav drives, energy field projectors, and even hollow field technology to render the craft virtually invisible to enemy scanners. But now it's time to see our own specialist take on this, once again, alien craft.
Yeah, another very interesting and cool design. And here we're adding them together like the Nightwing and the Razorwing. Both of these aircraft, they really resemble the iconic SR-71, the Blackbird. So I'm pretty sure maybe by name you don't know it, but once you see a picture, you're gonna know which airplane we're talking about. So it was built by Lockheed back in the 1960s, and the SR-71 it was designed to fly higher and faster than any other aircraft at the time. So it was a vital tool for the US Air Force during the Cold War, specializing in high-speed reconnaissance. This aircraft it could reach speeds up to, for my kilometers
I
friends,
mean, the whole world, not the
3,500 kilometers.
non-Americans.
And for my American friends, 2,200 miles per hour. So, it's a very, very fast aircraft. And it would fly to altitudes above 85,000 feet, which is insane. Like, it's crazy how fast and how high this plane could fly. Literally amazing. Amazing piece of tech, amazing piece of engineering. Insane. Apparently, there was a joke that if someone launched a missile against this plane, the pilots will just joke about it. It's like, yeah, our best defense is just go faster, accelerate their aircraft, and we're gonna outrun the missile. It's insane. I mean, it's awesome. So yeah, the design here for both of the aircraft, they share like many qualities from the with the Nightwing and the Razorwing. So you can see a thin aerodynamic frame built for speed rather than combat. And the trade-off for the design is limited because it's not a very maneuverable aircraft because it's made to go fast in a straight line. You're not going to be pulling G's, you're not going to be pulling turns, just go in, go out, do what you got to do and leave. It's a spy plane. It's not a combat plane, it's a spy plane. So that's one of the things that we have to keep in mind. So fly high, fly fast, get all the data you need, and get out of there because you're going beyond enemy lines, right? So that's the intent of the aircraft. Another point to consider is the wing itself. In this case, we can see the both of the airplanes. They have a forward swept wing. Some experimental jets, they have that. There's an example, the X-29, but the forward swept wings, they're not very common use because they come both advantages
And disadvantages.
and drawbacks. So, and disadvantages, yeah. So, it's tough because it's not very used, and especially for a plane like that with that kind of speed, it's not something you'll be looking into. It's an interesting design, but not the best. So the main thing I would have to say here again is, like I said, this plane was built for reconnaissance, fly fast, fly high, go in, go out. In here, it's funny because we can see like, oh, we have guns, we have missiles, We have a bunch of stuff. So if you're flying that fast, the first turn, like the first hard turn with some G's they're gonna pull on that thing, you're gonna break that thing in so many pieces. You're just gonna probably die. Like it's gonna fall apart everything. So you're gonna destroy the
Ha! Take
aircraft.
that, Eldar
You know.
players. So yeah, so this is ironically, and I sincerely believe that this is going to be one of the designs that you were going to be like, yeah, this is one of the ones that makes the most sense. And it's funny you say that because we actually have an official speed for this vehicle. The in-lore vehicle, the Nightwing vehicle. It's 3,600 kilometers per hour when the wings are folded. When they are unfolded,
Oh, it
yeah. I
folds.
mean folded when I mean they are retracted. When they are
Mm-hmm.
open, it's only capable of 2,300 only 3,300
Only.
kilometers per hour. So when they are fully extended, so yeah, it's still some ridiculous speed for the design of the vehicle. But it's like you said, the design is. It looks like something that you would expect of a reconnaissance vehicle, not a reconnaissance plane, not a fighter plane. And this is obviously, I mean, it's 40K. Everything is a fighter plane in here or has guns. Sometimes I believe babies are born with a bolt rifle in their hands. So yeah, it's a ridiculous. Of course, again, the universe can easily hide over the top future technology, super materials and stuff. But yeah, I'm kind
Yeah.
of surprised that you said that. Yeah, this design for this vehicle and the niche it's supposed to be in militarily speaking, it doesn't make a lot of sense. That's actually quite surprising to know.
Yeah, and like I was saying, it's not like you can't do any turns with the aircraft or anything. No, it's just you're not gonna be doing hard, sharp turns, and that's what you do in a dogfight. It's weird because the complexity of the materials required to handle such thing, it would be insane. Again,
Forty
Warhammer
thousand years in the
could
future.
happen. So, yep, who knows? But now, in real life, that would never happen. It's the structural stress on those wings would be like insane. So it would break the
Oh
plane
yeah, and
apart.
by the way, one detail that we kind of forgot to mention is that many of these vehicles, the majority that we have spoken so far, they are also void capable. So yeah, they're spacecraft as well. So there's that next level of ridiculousness that we need to consider. But well,
Okay.
okay, so now that we went past the insane physics defying Eldar craft and the full on bollocks level insanity that is Orc design, we now address the more reasonable of Xeno species, the Tau. I gotta admit, the Tau are kinda cute. Their ideologies and overall naivety toward the brutality of the galaxy makes them somewhat funny to observe. But what isn't funny or cute whatsoever is their technology, and more specifically, the firepower they provide for their Xenos greater good. With the Manta being likely the very best example of this. This enormous void-capable aircraft has enough firepower to take down even the mighty Imperial Titans. This is the Tau ultimate aerial superiority craft, making it not only their best frontline troop support and deployment vehicle, but also one of their most potent weapons platform. So, what does our dear pilot has to say about it?
Okay, so I really enjoy this design as well because it has a flying wing design. As you can see, it looks like a flying wing. And it is a real life concept that we have a couple military planes that have that design, such as a very, very popular and famous one. It's called the B2 from Northrop Grumman. Maybe you don't know by name, but when you see the picture, you're gonna know it. It's a very famous bomber. And also from the same company, the X-47B is a drone, the same concept, flying wing concept. So yeah, it's more used in the military aviation. Quick note: I also flew a lot of flying wings drones, especially for mapping. So yeah, it is something that I'm quite used to. So it's kind of nice to see something in here that resembles that. Yeah, so like I said, the B2 is the B2 and the X-47. They're both real life planes. One's a drone, one's a bomber. It's very nice to have a flying wing, but the design has a lot of challenges because the main thing is you're going to have reduced stability compared to a conventional aircraft. So it requiring advanced fly-by-wire systems and other kinds of control because the I don't get into many details here, but yeah, it's just stability. It's not going to be as good. While flying wing designs, they have proven successful in military applications. They have also been explored for passenger airlines. They're trying to bring that forward, but it's hard. At the moment, there are no flying wing aircraft for airlines, just military. But there are some studies from Boeing and Airbus that they have a couple of concepts that they're trying to bring forward. I don't know if it's going to happen, honestly, but you know, they're trying. The flying wing concept, it shows potential for long haul flights because it's a more fuel efficiency aircraft, so it will be great for cargo transport. But again, the stability control for passenger, for the if it's a regular civilian aircraft, it's not going to be good because the passenger, they're going to be very uncomfortable because it's going to, how can I
It's hard
explain
to find the
this?
words, right?
I'm trying, yeah, I don't want to get too technical about it, but you don't have a tail because when you have a tail in the aircraft, you have the empennage, right? So you have the vertical and horizontal stabilizers, which would they will not make your tail swing from side to side. It's not something that we're going to have here in a flying wing design. We lose that tail. So without that tail, you're going to be swinging more. Your stability is not going to be as good. So that's why it's not comfortable for passengers. But in the military
Yeah,
world,
it's about,
hey,
yeah,
who can say?
military efficiency. If it works on the target,
Ex-
great.
exactly, and it has its benefits. Like I said, the fuel efficiency. Today is not my day. What's happening? Fuel efficiency.
Brain, turn off English. Turn off
So
English, brain. Brain, turn off
turn
on
off English.
English.
So yeah, the fuel efficiency because you're going to have reduced drag, so it consumes less fuel. So it's very good, for long haul
And
flights.
monetary issues as well.
Uh, yeah, exactly. And it's going to lower your operating costs because if you spend less fuel, you're spending less money. In the Warhammer universe, so the Manta, it really resembles those planes, and like I said, it focuses on troop and cargo transportation, which is an excellent use of its design. I see it's equipped with weapons, so probably for defensive purposes. It's not going to be an aircraft that you're going to go into dogfighting, but it's there if something happens. It's ready to defend itself. So hey, that's another good point. It is a very, very huge aircraft. So my main point here is it doable? Yes, because we do have concepts that work with it. So a flying wing, it is a real thing. But the problem is its size and its weight. Who is it carrying? Like all those guys in armor and everything, so they're very
No, no,
heavy.
in this case, the Tau are aliens, so. And biologically, the Tau are smaller than the average human. They're not as strong. They have kind of subspecies within their race, like the fire caste, the water caste, the air caste.
Mhm.
The air caste are the pilots, and they are generally skinnier and taller, but they are much lighter. And the fire warriors are shorter, but they're bulkier. But they're not that heavy. They're not space
Okay.
marine heavy. They don't use power armor. I mean, they have their mechs, but that's not what it's transporting. The Manta is not going to be transporting that, as far as I know. It's more of a weapons platform that can also transport troops. But most of the times when I read it on the lore, I read it about how it can actually be an incredibly powerful weapons platform, or how it can take down even the Adeptus Mechanicus Titans. And for those who don't know, some of the Titans are 40 meters tall, enormous Goliaths that has literally weapons that simulate like plasma launchers that's basically throwing miniature suns at the enemy. So it's capable of taking that down. But yeah, it's exactly as you said. They're not supposed to be carrying very heavy troops. They're not carrying Astartes. They're not carrying
Okay.
vehicles, as far as I know. But they probably can. But I don't think that's what they thought of. And like I said, the Tau are the more reasonable factions within 40k. They're not religiously and fanatically screaming the name of the emperor and then charging a gun line with a sword. They're not doing that. So their vehicles are
Okay.
100% going to be more logically built in comparison. I mean, God damn it. The Imperium of Man literally rams their Imperial ships. And when I mean Imperial ships, I mean the void ships, the ones that have like kilometers long. Can you imagine ramming something into space? It's kind of insane. And the Tau goes the other way around. They're kind of like us if we're suddenly starting to go into space travel. We try to be as logical and as efficient as possible and not,
Mhm.
overly aggressive, over the top aggressive against our foes. So, yeah, there's that thing about the lore of it. So, you kind of got the point exactly of the Tau and their mindset of being more logically efficient instead of religiously
Mhm.
fanatical like the Imperium. I mean, I can see some of the designs of the Imperium of being like, yeah, they definitely built this in order to work. But I'm not that surprised that you yourself will look at the Manta and be like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. This is a really nice design. It
It
works.
does.
And yeah, I'm not
You
surprised
know,
in that one.
it's a clean design. You know, it's a clean design. It's a flying wing. So coming from real life, it's of course taking aside its size, it is something that's very doable. You know, it could happen.
Last but not least, we address the Necrons with their flying donuts. And yes, I'm not even gonna try to hide how comical these aircraft look, because the logic for their designs is definitely defined by the rule of cool by Games Workshop themselves. And granted, aesthetically speaking, they look really cool. The whole Necrons look really cool aesthetically if you stop to think about it. But jokes aside, the Necrons are the most technologically gifted race in 40k, and their designs might actually be a reflection of that, being so advanced that they need not to worry about simple inconveniences such as the laws of physics. What I'm trying to say is that their tech is insane. I mean it, they are ridiculously advanced. And for their aircraft in question for this segment, we talk about the Doomscythe, a fighter jet, if you can even call it that, of the Necron build. But honestly, without any further ado, I will simply allow our fellow pilot to cook on his steak for this very odd looking ship or plane. Is it a plane? I can't tell.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the only one that I have zero notes because, I
It's
mean,
ridiculous, let's be honest,
there's
it's ridiculous.
uh,
It's a flying donut for some reason.
yeah. I mean, nothing here makes sense. So yeah, it doesn't make sense. But I really enjoy the UFO and all of that stuff, flying discs thing. So I really enjoy that. So I'm gonna go conspiracy gi,
Dear
you
lord.
know, and not aviation gi here, which I think is amazing. Like honestly, it's super cool. Hey, it's an alien aircraft. It has all those things from like a flying disc, space colonization or whatever, aliens, and it has a giant cannon underneath it that shoots probably what lasers,
Photons,
like from this.
yeah, I think it's photons, yeah.
Yeah, like that's awesome, man. You know, that's really cool. So if we talk
The
about
rule of
what's the
cool,
thing that
the
they
rule
say
of
is
cool.
yeah, the really cool, but what's the name? Let me think about it. Band space time, the warp thing. There's a name they
What,
call it.
anti-gravity or some shit
Um,
like that?
yeah, it's something like when you're bending time and space in front of you and in your back, so you're shifting everything so you can go like crazy speeds, like light speed and
Antimatter or
everything.
something like that?
Not really antimatter, but let's yeah, sure, let's put it that way. But you know, if hey, if they can conquer gravity, that's pretty cool. I think it's awesome.
Well, it's the Necron, so I already suspected that this vehicle and this segment of the video is going to be more of a discussion between you and me, because honestly, going back to it, it's the Necrons, and yes, their technology is insane. And I truly mean it, insane. It looks like magic, even for the 40k standards. The space pharaohs really managed to figure it out, everything out when it comes to technology. And well,
Yeah, that's
again,
cool.
going back to their vehicle and their whole technology as a whole, yeah, they basically conquered everything: anti-gravity, anti-time, anti-matter. Yeah, every single technological googop you can think
There's
about.
your
Yeah,
answer. Hard
yeah, yeah, yeah.
twice.
How does this
There it
work?
is.
And it's a Necron device. It's, you just go around and say, well, it's a Necron. They figured it out. Like, they just did. So I knew that this was going to happen with this vehicle. And I knew you probably had a really big laugh the first time I saw you. Like, I'm pretty sure that you analyzing is like, yeah, this is
Yeah,
just so ridiculous.
I mean, it's like I said, I really enjoy all this talk about UFOs and flying disc and whatever. So for me, looking a design like this is like, huh, that's pretty cool, you know. So my mind doesn't go into real world aviation, whatever, you know. It just goes into, oh, it's a UFO, cool, I like it, you know. It just goes there. So yeah, I liked it. I think it's pretty cool. Like I said, in real life, yeah, it wouldn't work. Maybe we don't know because you know there are some flying things around the world that we don't know what it is. So it could be a
You're
thing, but we
really
don't
gonna
know
start
yet.
with those conspiracy theories right here in this video? Come on, man.
Hey man, I don't know, I don't know what to say, but hey, it's pretty cool.
Again, thank you for showing up
Yeah,
in this video. It was a really cool and surprisingly insightful video that we got here. Hopefully everyone else enjoyed it as well. This has been the Discount Russian and the pilot guy. We need a better name for you, man.
We do need a better
We need to
name.
think of something better.
Hey, people chose the name for me.
Now,
so-
you really want people to choose the name for you? Are you sure?
No, I mean that's what they said in the last video, so I'm like, okay, let's just go with it.
Yeah, but
So-
it's not like they open. Okay, whatever. We get it. This is the end for the video. There's not going to be an outro. So yeah, thank you again for coming here. You, my friend. Thank you for watching, of course. And well, I see you guys.
And don't forget to like and
Of
subscribe.
course,
you
this
know.
video is not sponsored by
Yeah.
Raid Shadow Legends. I'm not gonna keep this part.
Yet.
No, I'm not gonna be sponsored by that. I refuse. Seriously,
I refuse.
seriously. Can you imagine me saying that unironically? Like seriously, my
can't.
my pride is over. My pride
No.
is dead. It's over. I'm done. But either way, we're going on a tangent here. Again, thank you for watching. We'll see you guys later.